BMW now has 7 SUVs in their lineup. You have the X3, the X5, X4, X6, X7, and then you have this, the BMW X1. As the X1 name denotes, it sits at the bottom of the BMW SUV range. However, I do think that the X1 makes the biggest impact among BMW's SUV range. The X1's exterior is your typical BMW affair. Siya yung typical na sporty but nothing that's too flashy or outlandish. You can tell it's a BMW based on its twin LED daytime running lights and the BMW kidney grille up front. The side profile is characterized by a character line that runs throughout the vehicle's length. At the back, you have BMW's signature L-shaped LED taillights and a bit of a sloping roofline to give it a sporty look. As expected, the interior is solidly built and well laid out in a typical BMW fashion. There's plenty of soft touch materials, nice piano black trim, and some silver accents, though at this point it's starting to feel a little bit dated. The center stack is a bit sparse, though this is highlighted by the BMW iDrive Infotainment System. Sobrang swabe gamitin ng BMW iDrive. All the menus are well laid out, which means that hindi siya nakakalito gamitin regardless of the situation. I would normally complain the lack of Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, but iDrive is so well laid out to begin with, there's no need for Apple CarPlay and Android Auto for me personally. Despite the X1 moniker, you'd be surprised with the sheer amount of space that this car has. In fact, it's actually comparable to the bigger BMW X3. Elsewhere, you get a lot of storage areas for all your stuff. Trunk space is also quite good, which is one of the biggest in this class. Under the hood of this X1 xDrive 20D xLine, yes, it's quite a mouthful, is BMW's tried and tested 2.0 liter inline-4 twin-power turbo diesel engine. As the xDrive name suggests, power goes through all 4 wheels via an 8-speed automatic transmission. This new BMW X1 actually is using the same platform as the Mini Cooper Countryman, and basically this means that this car is now front-wheel drive based. Thankfully, this car's xDrive has standard, which is BMW's all-wheel drive system. And when it comes to corners, this car grips tenaciously. It's really well tuned for agility, for handling. Despite being a front-wheel drive based architecture, it's still really fun to drive into corners. The steering is telepathic, and there's really a lot of response through the steering wheel. Whenever you just try to move the wheel, it really changes direction eagerly and easily. At the same time, the suspension does a good job of keeping body roll in check. It goes through corners really flat, and this car is actually really quite grippy, as I mentioned, thanks to the xDrive all-wheel drive system. Plus, the brakes are really sharp, they're really firm, and there's a lot of bite with the brakes. Though at times, the brakes can be a bit too grabby when you're driving in the city, but overall, it's a confidence-inspiring setup that will really encourage you to drive this car and hustle it through corners, and it's really that good. So with this BMW X1, there's only actually one engine choice, and it's actually the tried and tested 2.0 liter diesel that you've been seeing across almost all BMWs ever since. It's a twin-power turbo diesel engine, and though on the outside it's quite noisy, rough, and not exactly refined, but inside, it really is a silent diesel engine. It really doesn't sound rough once you're inside, and it really shuts out the world around you. It's really that well insulated. There's a bit of road noise for me, though, when compared to some of its rivals, but it's still better than the Mercedes-Benz GLA. Also, the 8-speed automatic that's teamed up with this engine is really good. BMW makes the best automatic transmissions in the business, and well, though this car doesn't really have paddle shifters, there's no real need for those paddle shifters in the first place because the gearbox responds eagerly and responsively when you want to overtake someone, and at the same time, there's a nice balance between the transmission upshifting for fuel economy and eagerness to downshift when you want to overtake someone. It really reads your mind basically when you are driving this car. It's really that good. And apart from being punchy, this engine's really fuel efficient. For a whole week's worth of driving with this car, I've been averaging 14 kilometers per liter with this car. That's really quite impressive with this car. Negatives, well, apart from the aforementioned road noise that creeps into the cabin, yeah, you can hear it from this point, I'm pretty sure. The suspension is quite firm but not too uncomfortable, so most people will find that there's this nice balance between comfort and sport. But perhaps maybe one of my biggest gripes with this car is that for a car at this price, I actually quite expect it to have something like automatic emergency braking or those active safety features. And also, this car also doesn't have cruise control, which is something that I expect at this price point, since even a Honda Jazz VX or a Honda City VX has cruise control, so, well, why not in this car, right? There's only one variant to choose for the BMW X1, and it's this xDrive 20D xLine. It starts at a little under 3.9 million pesos, which is somewhat on the expensive side in our opinion, based on the features it only offers. What it offers though is having the most spacious and practical interior, and the best driving experience in this class. The BMW X1 then serves as a great entry point to your first ever BMW SUV experience.